Hey everyone. Well, given how this day marks 10 years officially since it went live and with more and more updates, systems, and even a brief rebrand as a proposed sequel, which didn't exactly go over as planned. I'm not going to go over every single moment for this game, but I am going to go over the ones I have some kind of connection to and some of the more infamous ones. So, drinking some Cabo Citrus, and it has been quite an influential role game for better or for worse. So, here's a video talking about 10 years of Overwatch. So let's begin. So, oh, the game originally debuted who 10 years ago today, and while a lot of the concepts had existed before, it was the way they're implemented that made this one so entertaining, and I would submit still does. With the visual style combining the East and the West, blending elements of anime, graphic novels, and animated Pixar films, and how managed to make all distinct characters with the main archetypes of damage, as DPS, as tank, and support character. It managed to oh, fundamentally reshape multiplayer shooters in the same way that Activision Blizzard's work on World of Warcraft did for MMOs. Why much like how WoW did, many games have tried to who who take on that specific approach to gameplay, but few succeeded. I mean, admittedly, it was not the first shooter to have things such as objective defense and or capture the flag, escorting a payload, and just team deathmatch among other modes. But it really was like the way that they implemented these modes that was I made it interesting, like the fast pacing, how a single moment can mean the difference between victory and defeat. That is still present to this day. And I'm also not going to be going over every single character that they've introduced in the last decade, especially given how they're still putting out ones as I record this. But I will be going over the ones I'm going to use most often from each class. Okay, so with damage, of course, I gravitated towards Tracer more than one. Hun, her lifestyle never bothered me, and even if it bothers some other people who are making misguided comments about Soros, I really don't think that's the reason why the game has had a more modest launch. She ended up becoming the game's mascot, and given how I've chosen to use her decennial cosmetic, which I'm aiming for, complete at least half the challenges for it, which is a case with me that she still is in many respects, and is implied to have data some of the other heroes in the roster. I also like the idea how it built upon the whole having being all these motion comics and in-game cutscenes to expand upon characters in the world. Not just in terms of other locales such as Route 66 or the Rock of Gibraltar, which become their watch points. But I especially like the recurring Halloween events in Transylvania, giving everyone the appearance of classic horror characters. There's especially occurring in Junkenstein with his monster and his bride. as well as having takeoffs on the Wolfman, the Mummy, and Count Dracula. Now that is a dark universe I can get behind. I have also had very heavy rotation Soldier 76, who is fittingly a soldier who's had genetic and cybernetic enhancements, including a visor, which reminds me a bit of the one that Cyclops wears, and he's definitely had quite a few interesting cosmetics. One actually I just got was like the Grill Master 76, where he's got the whole Kiss the Cook apron, Hawaiian shirts, as well as board shorts. Personally, I would have given him a pair of dad hat sneakers opposed to the socks and Birkenstocks, but other than that, no notes. And my last damage main would be Reaper, who's functionally the Angel of Death, magicking more weapons out of his cloak to reload. Need I say more? And with the tank characters, I tend to go for ones that are mechanized in some way, shape, or form. What's full on mecha, like Orisa or Ramatra, who definitely have different kinds of weapons, and or someone who's like in armor, like Wrecking Ball, a hamster, and Diva, a streamer who can use her mechanized tank as an explosive and ultimate. And the most recent one, which actually came from what I'm about to discuss next, is Malga, the big guy who also uses his chain guns as weights. And yes, you certainly can get Shihu for that one, Villas. Admittedly, the game has not been without its blunders. I'm not gonna be able to get into all of them, but at the whole, and even if some people hate to admit it, I will acknowledge that it was a key factor in popularizing using loot boxes. It's only just now that how they actually finally brought them back in, and though they do not appear to be purchased for real money anymore, and instead had focus on more also battle passes, as which tend to be more skill based, at least where for how you accrue items and as in gear. So thank you very much for that. And of course, the whole Overwatch 2 rebrand was not really the savior they're expecting. The whole mobile phone login in particular was something I took issue with, but mainly for security reasons. Given how many times that Sony has been and hit, in fact, they're currently dealing with another issue as I record this. And the PvE content, and which would have justified the whole switchover, including changing the main team setup, never materialized. Even before that happened, I was one of the people who was jokingly calling the game Overwatch 1.2, because it was functionally not terribly different, given how by design they keep changing balance once on the fly. And I will also admit I'm not the best player in the world, but when I have the right hero, I can definitely hold my own and lend a hand and to other people on the field, especially in case of the supports. It's especially like how much variety there is in that area, where Zenyatta, a a monk whose beads can heal and buff your allies, as well as damage and nerf your opponents. And Baptiste, someone who's quite handy with both a stem heal a and a 3 round burst. And one, and of course, a great many people, one character I immediately liked is Kiriko, who's introduced in the second game, where even with the whole, before they reworked the monetization and unlock her stuff, thankfully, her design and both her human and her yokai form are absolutely adorable. I mean, makes sense that you would have like your shrine maiden and have just right mix with traditional and contemporary gear here, with her robe being mixed up with a very cute little hat with fox ears on it and a and high tops, where especially like the alternating between the kunai and the her helams, both her ofuda, which can actually see much more of the symbols on them more clearly with the latest update, and the lotus that's that she can use as well. And even after trying to make it work, late last year and into this one, actually reverted back to the original name and also brought back the main 6v6 X mode, as well as the 5v5 one that had as well had part of the second game, which actually did a lot in helping bring a lot of lapsed players back. So much so that actually took me a bit of time actually logging a match in some days. But still, how about that? To go back to make a game successful again, you go back to what made it successful before. A light novel concept. Yeah, so it's definitely been quite the long road, and while how many others are trying to horn out on this market, there's been very few ones been actually able to pose a meaningful challenge to the game. I mean, of course, Marvel Rivals quite entertaining, but everyone like that, you had a whole bunch of ones that are now defunct, which there's even more I'll be addressing in the near future that never even made it. I mean, I was not even aware about this one called King of Meat until after I heard that the developers let much people go. Oh, and also, the game itself was closing down. And that's coming someone tends to keep a pretty solid thing on the pulse of releases a given year. But given how much stuff comes out, I'm not surprised it slipped through the cracks, especially with the whole. Oh, realistically, most people can only commit to 1 or 2 live servers at a time, 3 at the most. Thankfully, this is one of the ones I tend to come back to very frequently. And I don't always try to win either. Sometimes I just feel like completing my dailies, and then that's it. It's that simple. And I can definitely say that I can get my other half of these challenges complete before I have to take off this week. So, as someone who's logged 110 hours in the Switch port and is currently working on logging more into the Switch 2 ports as well, I hope to spend even more time with this game as I complete the remaining challenges for Decennium. With that in mind, I will see you all again very soon with a few other videos. including a part of the Star Wars saga I've been hesitant to explore for a while, but have now found a way to cover. I'll try to see how I do, though. That's all for now. Take care, everyone.